Hi, and welcome to everything you need to know about Studio One version 3. I'm Russ Hughes.
And I'm Matthew Mann.
Wow, this has been a long time coming for a lot of us,
Yes,
hasn't
it
it, Matt?
has. It sure has, certainly.
We have to let you into a secret now that we've been in on the secret for quite a bit of time on the team because they wanted us to have a bit of a heads up to be able to show us stuff. And if you've been watching the screencast today from the guys at PreSonus, you probably guessed that I was already in on it. And of course, Matt, being the editor of Studio One expert, was also in on it. But we want to give you this video. We've done these before for Pro Tools and other stuff. So we're going to give you our kind of overview, the stuff you probably won't see on the kind of publicity stuff and the marketing, and give you our kind of show and tell of everything, and then let you know what you think of it. So, Matt, I suppose a good place to start is looking at this screen now, which is, as you can see straight away, has colours.
It's very colorful.
It's very colourful. At last, when I got into Studio One, I did find the old version somewhat dull. I don't know about you.
Oh yeah, the slate gray has definitely worn its way thin. So,
and perhaps that's a good place to start because you may see on my versions a very different version. Matt's is blue, and one of the cool things straight away that we'll show you on about colours is if we come to the appearance, there's this dialogue, and you can do different versions. So we can contrast the background and the foreground. So if you look on the luminance of the arrangement window, I've got in kind of what I call Pro Tools mode, because Pro Tools some people find that kind of arrangement kind of almost like Logic mode, very dark. But I do that so I can see the grid nice and bright. So things like that are really nice, aren't they, Matt?
they are, and you know, one of the biggest complaints I've seen since that accidental screen share around Music Mesa time is talking about how dark the new version looks. From what they can see, and that gives you a lot of flexibility in exactly what you can do to set it up to look the way you want.
Yeah, so if we show you that, if we push this way, I can have a purple version or a red version. I think I say, Matt, yours is somewhere down here, isn't it? Or
yeah, it's
down there.
Into the it's
into the blue. Blue moon. So yeah, that's as much singing you get out of me. So let's cancel that. Let's get back at it. So you can make it exactly how you want it to be, which is I think is cool. Let's talk a bit more about the mixer first. Another cool thing is this, which is what you can make your meters as short or as tall as you want them.
I love it.
Yeah, it's great. So if you're especially when you come to do like a final mix, you can have these meters working like that.
And I think that gives you a lot more resolution when you're mixing.
It does. Talking about resolution, it's a brand new interface, which means that if you've got Retina displays, then it's high resolution graphics. Very nice. Let's talk about a few things that are really going to make you happy, especially this is what I found out when I'm working on a laptop, is folders now. You can make your folders follow the arrange window, and you can do things like you can keep the effects to the right now if you want all your effects to the right, if you're kind of an old school mixer. And as I say, you can link the show and hide of track lists with a console and here. So if we just close that a second, and let's say I put these two, if I collapse these two bass synths into a folder, pack a folder with those two, and call those basses. We'll do this very quickly. And let's say I get all the rest of this and pack all that lot into a folder. Backing, we'll put that for now. Now what we can then do, we can come here, as we just said, and we can link those expandable folders to the mixer at the bottom. So if we open that now, the mixer gets bigger or smaller, which is great on a laptop, Matt. I've been mixing on a laptop on planes and stuff recently, and so I have like my drums in one folder, and then I have my vocals in another folder, and you can just make those move up and down.
Right.
Now the other cool thing is people used to get really, really annoyed about when you moved the channels around in a mixer, and then what happened up here, didn't they?
They would jump all over the place.
They jump all over the place. But the news is now, if you can now move them around and they don't jump around, which will stop driving you crazy. So obviously there's a new look interface, which is very, very nice. And as I say, having folders like this where you can collapse and expand, it's good. The other nice thing about the folders now is you can colorize within a folder. So what we can do, we could get all of these backings and we could make them all the same color in the folder in one go, and things like that. So there's those kind of cool tricks as well. So anything else on the look map that we want to talk about before we move on to some of the other cool stuff?
You just hit the folders, and that was the one thing for me that was great because I mean, some people like ascending colors in their tracks, but I personally like to keep all my grouped or my folder tracks the same color or at least very similar. So I think that that was a huge workflow speed up for me. But no, I think you covered pretty much everything there at the moment.
Of course, as well, there's a whole new set of icons up here as well. So let's talk about getting round a bit. We haven't even got really into the meat of this. And if you've been watching stuff today and reading online, you'll know that some of the punchlines that are going to come. But we just want to talk about them, really. Another cool thing is those of you that have come from other DAWs, for example, Pro Tools, is the really nice feature now of being having to have what is getting close to a smart tool. Basically, you can allocate here a second tool that will work when you use the command key on a Mac, and I think it's the Windows key on a PC, Matt, isn't it? So
yeah, it is.
For me, it's the range. So if you click here, if we go there, you can see that little line appearing, and that now means that as we hover over anything, that at the moment is the arrow, but the minute we hit the command key, it becomes the knife. That's really cool.
That's huge for us.
Ninja editing.
That's right.
Yeah. While we're in some back engine stuff, and another really cool feature that I know some of you are going to absolutely get excited about, and I know it's something you've been fighting for a very long time, is, let me show you something when we go in the automation. So let's add in the automation here. I don't know, we'll do some MIDI. We'll do some aftertouch, and we'll add that in. So we've got the aftertouch of the bass in here now, but look what we can do now with the Freehand. We can draw in, and if you take snap off, it's completely free. It's completely freeform. So
that's nice.
At last, we have completely freehand drawing of automation if you want it. So there's that on that.
Yep.
So Matt, one of the big things that you're very excited about, let's talk about some other cool stuff in terms of new stuff.
Well,
actually, before we get to there, let's show them something else, which you've probably noticed here now. You can now have all of your plugins showing as graphics. Now, that's really, really cool. Now, we're going to give you a quick tip here that you won't know straight away. We just learnt it as we've been talking to the guys over at PreSonus on the team. So, for example, we go to the effects. If you look in my Universal Audio folder, not all of my Universal Audio stuff is set to be in graphic mode. Actually, what I've done, which I think is a cool trick, Matt, and I don't know if you're going to do the same thing, is I'm only using my favorites as graphics so I can see them quickly.
That's actually a really good idea. I'm still of the mind of the video that I showed you recently about being able to set up a favorites folder, and I still use that. But this is really powerful because you can keep everything together, but have a very quick reference for those that you use the most. And I think that's very powerful.
So let me show you something. I'm going to get Grab Ocean Way here for a minute. I'm going to bring this in, and I'm going to drag it into a channel. Let's just put in the shaker for now. This will do. And that's dropped Ocean Way in. Now, as you can see, it still shows it as an FX. But if you come here and go Update Plugin Thumbnail, then it becomes the graphic. That's how you do it.
That's awesome.
That's cool. So, yeah, that's very, very nice. I'm going to remove that from there. But that will still stay afterwards when you reopen it again, which is nice. So there's that. But, Matt, let's go back to instruments, and you can talk us through a bit.
Yes, please.
So let's talk synths. So I've got a synth lead here.
Yep.
Talk about this.
What's that? What is that? This is one of the first new instruments from PreSonus from Studio One. This is Mai Tai. Mai Tai is awesome. It is a polyphonic synth. Okay, it's virtual analog synth. It has 2 oscillators and a sub oscillator, noise generator, which was missing in Mojito. I know I certainly missed that in trying to come up with some sounds. Multi-mode filters, and there's 5 different types of those. So there's a lot of flexibility. There's a character module, which we'll get into more in depth in later tutorial videos.
Yeah, we're going to be. Can we say we're going to be doing specialist videos about all of the new features over the coming weeks? So keep coming back. But this is our kind of like big reveal video.
Absolutely. There's also 3 envelope generators, a couple of LFOs, and now get this, 16-stage modulation matrix where you can route different modulations to different things, and that's huge.
There it is.
Yeah. And they also decided to go ahead and include built-in effects as well. And although PreSonus's effects that are built into Studio One are nothing to scoff at by any means, it's cool that these are built in because it adds a lot more flexibility when you're trying to create sounds on the fly instead of having to try to think outside the synth, so to speak. So that's pretty cool. Now, and then there's another really cool feature that I think is really important, especially if you're working on a slightly older machine, and that's scalable CPU performance.
Yeah, down here. You've got the different quality version. 80s you've got, which is nice. I think I'll be putting it on 80s, actually, which is kind of a nice crappy sound, which is perfect.
It makes a huge difference. Yeah. It really does. If you're going for an old school sound or even a new school sound, but you're trying to get some of that old quality, and going down to the 80s setting makes a huge difference in what you hear. It's grittier. It has a little more girth. So it's great. Play with that. Honestly, it really does make a huge difference.
Can I just butt in here with a couple of things? The first thing is that all these synths are working on a brand new engine that they've created, which is driving Mai Tai and is driving PreSonus XT, which we're going to look at in a while. And so that's the first thing. There's a new engine, and if you watch the video that's come out today from the guys over at PreSonus, I interview the guys in Hamburg, and you can see us talking about that. The other hot thing, or not hot thing, the other kind of little Easter egg about these synths is that this is called Mai Tai because that's a 2-rum cocktail, and Mojito, which is 1 oscillator, is a 1-rum cocktail. So I asked the alcoholics over in Germany why they came up with those names. So anyway, so we're going to go some more detail on this in another time. But let's move on now, Matt, to PreSonus XT.
Oh yes, please.
This is very special.
Yeah, and they didn't just change the name. They didn't just add new content. They have added some amazing things to this, and it sounds fantastic. Don't let me fool you there. But let me tell you. Let's quickly talk about the first thing.
I'm going to load a sound in while you're talking.
Okay,
because it comes with shed loads of content.
It really does. Tons of content. It took me days. Not really, but it took a long time. But the first thing I want to tell you about is that it reads most popular sample formats. Okay?
Basically unprotected contact. That's nothing to do with that's nothing to do with having a child. Unprotected contact libraries, EXS, and also Sound Font.
And Giga. Don't forget Giga because some people still use. Some people still use it.
Yep.
But that's huge. And then the other thing, generic multi-sample formats for exchange with other hosts like Bitwig.
Yeah.
Okay. Bitwig's the only one right now that's doing that. But that means that you can bring in Bitwig sound libraries, or you can, if you were so inclined, could take these sound libraries and be able to read them also in Bitwig.
Can I mention, while you're talking about libraries, and I'm not breaking any confidentialities here, because this is also coming up, I think, on the new video that's coming out today, is coming soon is in-app purchases. You'll be able to buy sounds for this in-app while it's open.
Yep. And that's cool, too. And they do have a completely new sampler engine and disk streaming engine now. It's completely rewritten, has articulations and scripting support.
Yep.
So for the guys that are writing big orchestral things, that's pretty heavy duty update. So good on them there.
And I've just got this one loaded here. This is just one of the millions of sounds that not millions, but a lot of sounds that come in. If you see these red areas, this is the different articulations you can switch on and off from the keyboard as well. Very nice. Yep. So you've got the actual, and then if we click that will give us nice. What's that one? Yeah, that was the. I nearly did the Top Gear music then, or the Formula One music, should I say, from Fleetwood Mac. So there's Mojito. There's Mai Tai and PreSonus XT.
Yep. Those are the new synths that they've included. Now there's a lot of other stuff, and like Russ said, the content libraries that they include with these are massive, 15 gigs.
Yeah.
Of new content.
There's new loop libraries as well. If we quickly show you the loop libraries now that have come with it, you go through and there's drums. In fact, if we go to instead of instrument, we go to vendor. Stuff from PreSonus, stuff from 9-volt audio, stuff from Ubershell. There's loads of Vengeance stuff as well. Let's go back to instruments because we want to go to something else now, which is note effects.
Oh yeah.
So now what we have is we have an arpeggiator. Let's just drag that into this synth lead for a second. And let's play on that. Let's get to that channel.
Now, while Russ is getting set up, for those of you that have come from some of the other DAWs like Cubase and Ableton Live, this is going to feel very familiar to you, but yet they're not. It isn't the same.
No.
They've completely rethought these. Before including them, but it will at least feel familiar because it'll allow you to do things that you could previously do in Cubase and Ableton and maybe a couple of the others. So that'll at least they'll feel familiar.
So it's really cool. So you've got things like basic notes doing that. So there's that, and then you've got chords. Of course, it'll do. So there's all sorts of very, very cool things. I can't remember what that one is. And then there's some presets in there as well. So that is the arpeggiator. Now, then we've got a chorder where you can have chords playing off one finger. Cool if you're on an aeroplane, you've got a very small keyboard. There's an input filter and there's a repeater as well, which is a bit like a MIDI echo unit, which is very cool. So they're very cool. Matt, actually, which reminds me, we haven't actually talked about a really, really cool feature here. So I'm just going to go in for a second and go into the here, and I'm going to kill the arpeggiator on here because I don't want to, because I'm going to show you something else on this track in a while. And I'm going to I'm going to come back and delete presence back out for a second. In fact, now I'll keep presence and we'll get a different sound in. So we'll go in presence and we will get, let's get an electric piano in here for a second. In fact, a ballad, just a ballad piano. Let's see what we got there. That should give us a ballad piano. That'll take it a while to load up. So I think, oh yeah, I like that. But you know what? What would be really nice is to have the strings that I have in my expand on there. So if we pick up the strings and drop that on the track, there's a new option. Do I keep it? Do I combine it or replace it? If I press combine, I now have them together.
Multi-instruments.
Woohoo! Now there's some cool things about the multi-instruments. Let's show you a few things about the multi-instruments. If I don't want to expand all over it, I can just take it and just put it on the top hand there, just for about there. So,
which lends itself beautifully to splits and layers.
Yep, so there's that. But it doesn't stop there. It just gets really good, because what we can do as well then is we could, for example, we could bring on expand on this side, we can add an effect. We could add like a reverb on expand that's not on presence. Do all sorts of stuff like that. We can change the key of that. We can transpose it from here. So if we just take that down to 12. And the cool thing is, this is not just limited to synths. It also works within the any effects channel. So as well, so you could start doing things like you can do multi-band. So you could have a different compressor on the bottom of a drum kit than on the top. You could do things like de-essing. You could split stuff into multi-bands. So as I say, we can come into the effects then, and I could say, okay, I'd like Ocean Way on that piano. So I come in here and come into presence here and just put Ocean Way on that piano there. So I've now got Ocean Way on the piano.
And then maybe a chorus on the strings.
And of course, we can go back to here. We could put the arpeggiator. We could go in here and put an arpeggiator in on the top of the expand strings.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, that's not the kind of sound I'm going for, but you get the point.
Yeah.
So multi-instruments, then you can save that. So you could create really Matt, this is going back to the 80s again, mate, isn't it?
Oh, yeah.
For you and me who are synth heads, it's really like the old days of building stuff up. So that's these new ways of building the whole of a complex instrument are good. Now the cool thing is as well, if you saw there, if I hit that, then we can map.
Let's go back to that.
We can map this automation here to different parts. So we can say,
and you can choose what you want to map it to, which is really really cool.
Which is cool. So we could say, okay, that first knob does the cutoff frequency of all the synths, but it doesn't have to do the cutoff frequency. It's really powerful. It's totally editable, and then there's switches as well, so you could switch stuff on and off like reverb. So it's just brilliant. It's just really exciting. And I say, there we go. We can map stuff all over the place. So knob 1, we could go into instruments and we could say, okay, and expand. We want that to be the cutoff frequency, and that's now the cutoff frequency of expand. Very nice.
Or for you experimental guys, if you had a delay and you had it set up so that you could change the length of the delay or the number of repeats on a delay just for certain parts of a song.
Yeah.
Especially for those live performance guys, that lends itself to that kind of creativity. So it's really cool stuff.
So now if we come to those strings now. How cool is that? Okay, come back in here if we want to make it. It really is like the good old days of synths, mate, isn't it?
And and then being able to, if you see there's also a send section so that you could put some spit and polish on your sound once it's complete, once you have it the way you like it. You could send it to maybe to a basic compressor or a little bit of reverb just to make everything gel together a little more, a little better. They give you a ton of flexibility with this multi-instrument section. It's really, really cool.
And of course, not only multi-instrument, but also multi-effects if you want to use it instead like that. So you can either use it as a multi-instrument or a multi-effect. And as I say, if you use the splitter, you can just keep splitting things off and just keep growing that with splits and stuff like that. We can add note effects in there. We can add more instruments in there. It's very, very powerful and very, very useful. So that's very nice. I'm going to pull that out of the track because that's gone. Let's move on to some other stuff. There's, of course, the search in here now is so much better as well. So you go to loops and we go, okay, we want bass. Very quick. It will start finding stuff.
And you can have that search by acoustic or electronic.
You could then go, you could say, okay, then you go jazz. Let's add jazz in there, see if it finds any jazz bass. No, thankfully there isn't any.
Search for banjo. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, please. We want people to buy it. There is a banjo collection, isn't there, for Notion? They are there. There we go. You asked for it.
Oh, that's classic. Speaking of which, very quickly, I do want to mention a note of thanks to the folks on the Studio One Expert site that have sent in banjo jokes. They're hilarious. Thank you. We've gotten a kick out of reading them.
One of my favourites is, what do you have if you have a banjo player up to his neck in the sand? Not enough sand. Anyway, let's talk to you about something really cool. This is one of my favourite features so far. You may not have noticed, or the eagle eyes will have noticed this. I'm just going to close a few things off so we can just show you the arrange window. Now, if you look at the top of the timeline, you can see it's got words. This isn't just markers. This is the new arranger mode. And the arranger mode is incredibly powerful. It's very easy to use. It's as simple as getting a pencil and drawing in sections like that. Yep. Now, this is where it gets really powerful. So I'm just going to delete that one back out. Because then if you open what we call the Scratchpad open, we can build up different versions of a song without messing with this, without breaking the original song. So here's the original song here. So now already I've got 3 versions here. I've got this version with the synth lead. And as simple as go click here. Here's one with a different guitar lead. Another guitar lead. How cool is that, Matt?
That's awesome.
Now, what's
very, very cool,
What's
Russ.
really, really powerful about this is you can delete parts here, so we can take that bass part out there, and it doesn't affect it there. Let's put those back in for now. Then what you can also do is if you do something here, so this is left untouched completely here. Let's just make that clear there. But if you do something here that you like, so actually, I think I like that. I like this synth sound here. I like this synth part. I can grab this lot here. In fact, I don't even need to grab it like that. I just grab the verse bit here, drag it into there.
Drag it over.
And there we are. In fact, let me snap. Let's just do that again by snapping. That wasn't in snap mode. So grab that and put it in there. Snap it in. Grab that bit and put it in there. Drag that in. And now we've got... How cool is that for trying out different guitar parts or laying different vocals or having different versions? If you're a guy that's doing like a radio mix, a different vocal mix, different language versions, you can
that's right.
You can have them all in there. It's really, really simple. You can duplicate Scratchpads. I think this reminds me when pre-Pro Tools, there was a product called Sound Tools. It was the first product that DigiDesign did, and how that worked was you'd mark up areas, then you'd assemble them in lists, and this reminds me of that. And so now I have two versions of a song in the timeline.
Right.
How flipping cool is that, mate?
It's awesome.
It's one of my favourite features of this.
They've really opened it up for composers and experimental guys, anybody really, who's trying to get a new feel or a different feel to the song, trying out different arrangements. It's really powerful, and this is gonna open up a whole new world for a lot of folks.
It really is. This is big. I was already using Studio One, as you know, as my go-to composition tool, but this really does make it, for me, the industry standard for composition and for production, for music production. This is the door to use now.
Russ, I think you're right. I do think you're right.
So, Matt, let's go now back to a couple of other things we haven't mentioned yet. There's two new effects, isn't there? There is a bit crusher.
Yep.
Some people are married to one. Let's just drop that in somewhere.
I was going to say, be careful how you type that in there, Russ.
Yes, butt crusher. Yeah. So that's got all sorts of like 12-bit, so really cool for doing vintage stuff like 8-bit drum machines, and you can also do some pretty nutty stuff as well.
That's cool because that means I no longer have to sample stuff out of my system into my old Emacs to get that 12-bit sound. You can use Bit Crusher and save a lot of time. Now,
for me as well, one of the things I think a song isn't finished until it's got a Hammond organ in it, and now they've done this great rotor plugin. Which we'll do again. All of these will have separate videos over the coming weeks. So,
of course, you don't have to use these just on, say, a Hammond organ. You could throw that on a vocal track too if you wanted.
But I think a Hammond organ is compulsory on any track.
Yeah. Of course you do.
Now, as the final punchline, you might have seen as we've been opening stuff up, something in the plugin in the corner here that says UCNet Remote. That's because the other good news is it's now touch compatible.
What?
Yes, touch compatible. And all that before anybody goes, oh no, not another iPad app. Yes, another iPad app, but Windows support and Mac support. By downloading a piece of software, you can also use this touch compatible on the Mac with the OS X software. And I think the software is freeware. So we'll get some information about that. But yes, here is the iPad version, as you can see, in its glory. And as you can see, it's got a lot of great features for controlling the mixer. But best of all, it's got a whole macros feature, and you can create your own macros as well. So with one button, you can explode a track and stuff like that. No dynamite necessary.
Guess I'm gonna have to go out and get myself an iPad now.
Well, no, you don't have to. You could either get yourself a Windows Touch device, or you could get your Windows 8 machine. Or heaven forbid, that'll get the Windows people beating us up. But generally, yeah. So Touch is on here as well now. I think I'm going to go back to the instruments to sort of as we finish this, because look at that.
And it's not single touch; it's multi-touch.
It's full. It's full multi-touch.
Excellent.
So that's everything you need to know about Studio One version 3 with our kind of opinion. Now, some of the features we've shown you are only available in the professional version. The versions are changing with this new release as well. So make sure you check out the new names and the new delineation of the versions that are now out. There's still a free version, and then there is I think the producer has got a new name, possibly. We'll double check that.
Yeah, I have to check that. And also remember that depending on the version you have, you'll have a different amount of content that comes with it. You know, if you have a professional version, you're going to get everything that they throw at you, up 15 gigs worth of content. If it's the middle version there, then it's going to be a little less, but you'll still get a ton of features. And then the free version has enough to get you started, and it's still a lot to get you started. So.
The other thing I forgot to mention, last PS, is that there's a new time stretch algorithm for the professional time stretch, and that is now up to 20 times instead of just 4 times. And so we'll be giving that. We'll be putting that for its paces. But I've always found the bend algorithm in this anyway utterly brilliant and very good quality. So. In closing, Matt will say his stuff in a moment, but I have to say that I already love Studio One, but this takes it to a completely new level in so many ways. And it also, as I say, if you've been on the fence about getting into Studio One, then now is the time to do it. There are cross-grade deals, I think, as well, if you use a different DAW.
There are, yep.
Obviously, there will be... we don't know the upgrade price yet for those who already own Studio One, but I think you get a lot of stuff. The amazing thing is, that when we got the beta through, and when we've been talking to them weeks ago, we had 14 pages of changes in the update to this application. Now, that's not always the case with other DAWs. So these guys have really thrown the kitchen sink at this, and I have to say, every feature is utterly brilliant. That's mine. What about you, Matt? It's thumbs up from me. What about you, Matt?
Oh, it's definite thumbs up from me. And Russ mentioned the upgrade price. For those of you like me who were around when we went from version 1 to version 2, PreSonus has never been outrageous with their upgrade prices. So I have to say that I'm confident that it's going to be very reasonable and people are going to be happy with what they decide on upgrade prices. And the cross grades are a new thing that I think are going to be they're going to bring a lot of love. And Russ, honestly, I'm so happy that we've been able to convert you. And bring you over to the dark side of the Force.
Yeah, I think I'm off some people's Christmas card list.
I don't know whose, but hey, we're glad to have you over here, and I definitely, with all these new features, have to give PreSonus and Studio One a huge thumbs up. They've worked hard, and it's beautiful. It's super functional. It's going to add a lot more creative potential for everyone. No, I don't care what kind of composer you are. This is the way to go.
Yeah,
this is
easier than ever. Easier than ever. This product
absolutely.
And as I say, the reason I love Studio One is it just doesn't get in the way when I'm trying to make music, and that's what we all want from our DAW, don't we?
That's right. Keep it simple. Keep it simple.
Fantastic. So there we go. So it's goodbye from me.
And goodbye from me and Studio One Expert, and we'll see you soon.
Goodbye.